Gormagat Las Concorda, and I intend to speak against the amendment. But before I do, there is something deeply wrong with the rules of this House, that we cannot accuse each other of lying, but we can accuse each other of war crimes. There's something really broken with the rules of our House, and I know, Las Concorda, you were not here in the chair when it happened, but I know a lie when I see it, and there was no war crimes committed during this pandemic. I speak against the motion because I believe that this government and this minister does not want to have these powers in place for any longer than is required. And I say that not because it's only my belief, but because of the proven track record over the last year and a bit when we have dealt with COVID, because we have never leaned hard into overly regulating the response to COVID. When other countries were insisting on you applying for a licence to leave your home, we never went down that road. We always tried to work with people, to work with the public, because we don't believe that overly regulating and overly implementing restrictive measures is the solution. And that has always been the solution. So I take the government's word that this is not a sneaky way of introducing some measure that's going to be with us in the long term, because I don't know why this government would do that. I do not know the benefits of why they would do it. I do know the benefits of taking the public health approach which we have taken, and it has always been the middle ground. We have not leaned into the zero COVID argument, nor have we opened up the let it rip approach that we've seen in the United Kingdom. The people who've spoken in favour of this amendment have all come from multiple different positions. They're opposing the bill, but they're doing it from different positions. We've some people who grossly underestimate the impact COVID has had on our society and the threat that COVID has had. And we have other people who would rather we would lean harder into a zero COVID approach. And in the middle, we have the main opposition party, who seems to have a different position on COVID depending on the whim and the mood. Open the pubs on the front page of a paper, lock down the country the next month. And I never know where they're going to come, but I know they're always going to come at it with a populist approach. The government has not done that. We've done the right thing when we did do the right thing. I want to respond to Deputy Boyd Barrett's contribution, because I thought it was one of the most honest that was put forward by the opposition speakers. And he said, in order to avoid discrimination, I would rather not open up now. I would rather wait. And I hope I'm not misparaphrasing you there, Deputy Boyd Barrett, but I think that's the gist of what he said. And I think that is an honest interpretation. But I'd say to him, and I'd ask him to consider the word discriminate. To me, discriminate means to treat people differently unjustly. Now, we have treated people differently in this pandemic right from the very start, but not unjustly. We asked people over 70 to stay in their homes when others did not. Unfair, yes, but not unjust. We've asked people not to go to school and college when we allowed people go to work. We've asked people in some industries to close, but we've allowed other industries to thrive. Not because we were unjust, but because that was the best way of dealing with the pandemic at the time. So I do not believe this discriminates. I believe it treats groups differently, yes, but not because of their age, but because of the protection that they've gained from reaching the vaccine. And by the way, this is not the first time we've treated people differently on a public health grounds. We allow people to smoke outside a public building, but we don't allow them to smoke inside a public building. We allow some people to buy alcohol and tobacco, and we prohibit people of a different age buying alcohol and tobacco, because that's a good public health decision. And so I'd say, and I come back to it again, a lot of people here are saying this should all have been sorted. We should have known what we were doing. This government was planning for a full reopening of society with no passes, with no restrictions. The entire continent was planning on that, and Delta came. And when a variant has come, as every other phase of this pandemic has come, we have pivoted, we have changed, we have done whatever we can to pick that middle road between the hard COVID approach and the let it rip. We've tried to do the sensible thing, and that's what we're doing here. I'm not sure I would have supported this 3 or 4 months ago. But I've been given the option that I have to show this phone walking into a restaurant so I can get inside that restaurant and be safe. Do you know what? That's not the hardest thing I've had to do in this pandemic. God, there's been some really hard things that people have had to do in this pandemic. People going to funerals with only a handful of people there. This issue is not the hardest thing that we will ask the Irish public to make, and it is not an issue in which we are discriminating. So tonight, I will vote Tá to give 2 million people more freedom to do more in this country. 2 million and more, growing every week. And I'd say to young people out there, I understand it's unfair that you'll have to eat outside and drink outside rather than drinking inside. But the vaccine is coming to you in the coming weeks. In fact, it will probably come quicker than we ask people over 70 to stay cocooned. So, anocht, I will vote Tá to give people freedom.